Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. Okay, so today we're here at phpfiddle.org, and today we're gonna start working on data structures, which are loops. So let's just write down what we are working on. These are loops. Okay, so what loops are is a way to manage your data by repeating a task over and over. And right now, if you're not familiar with coding, it really doesn't make much sense, but let's run through some quick examples. So let's say we want to count to 10. Let's say count to 10. So we'll go echo the number 1, let's say, and let's run that and see what that looks like when we run it. And see, here it is, the number 1. And we're going to go back to our code space, and the way we'll do the rest of them from 1 to 10, we'll echo in a line break. This is a line break, we've started that before, and then we're going to do the number 2. Okay, so basically for every echo statement we're going to have a line break followed by the number. So this first line will be number 1, the second line will be number 2, and so on and so forth. So we'll just copy and paste this. Let me see if it lets me. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's adjust these, and you could already see the structural problems that will occur if you had to do this line by line. So now let's run this and see what we have. We're looking to find 1, then a new line, and 2, then a new line, and 3, then a new line, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way down to 10, and so on. So let's run that, and there we go. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. But what if there was a way that we could do the same thing by writing 1 line of code and repeating it? Because in code, what we tend to do is highlight patterns. So the pattern seems to be whatever the current number is, add 1 to it and display it, then add 1 to it and display it, and then add 1 to it and display it, and add 1 to it and display it, and so on. So once you recognize a pattern like that, you could go ahead and use loops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that code right there so we can see what the original is, and we're going to duplicate this code using loops. So loops are a little tricky to understand at first. So the way loops work is you have to have a condition that is tested every time you run the loop, and then you have to have a stop point for the loop, or else the loop will continue forever. So the way it works is like this, and I'll go through it. So for let's say you have a counter and you set the counting value at a starting value. So we're going to set that at 0. So I equals 0, and we're going to set the condition. So we're going to say if I is less than 10, because we're counting to 10, right? Actually, let's do this. Let's not start at 0, because sometimes 0 gets confusing. Let's do from 1, and then when I is either less than 10 or equal to 10. And then this phrase, I plus plus, would mean that the I is definitely going to get increased every time you go through the loop. So that's the basic structure of a loop. Okay, so for I equal 1, this is the starting value. This is the condition that says whether or not the loop will continue, and this is the direction of the counter. So this is the counter I, and this counter is going to increase by 1 over and over. Okay, and then it will continue to write whatever code is in here. So what we wanted to do is we're going to simply do another echo statement followed by a line break, followed by the variable I. And that's it. So what is that? It's like magic. So let's just run it and see what happens for now. So let me do, just for separation purpose, let me just put another line break here, and let's do the text loop starts here. Let's do that, and then put another line break, just so that we have a separation between this code that is not looped and the code below it, which is this code that is the loop. And now we're gonna run it. Okay, so run this code. Let's see what happens. So here's our original code, 1 through 10. Then you see this one says loop starts here. There it is. And then down here you also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But remember, we didn't list these. Like, these are all echo statements: echo 1, echo 2, echo 3, echo 4, echo 5. Down here we have the same exact output without actually doing it. So let's see how is that possible. So what the loop was able to do, and this is the loop here. So the loop says, okay, we're gonna start at 1, and as long as I is not equal to as long as I is less than or equal to 10, we're gonna increase the value of I. So we're gonna say echo the line break and I. So when it first runs this loop, I is equal to 1. Then the loop ends. Then it starts back at the top, and it goes, it checks it, and it goes, is I less than or equal to 10? And says yes. Then it increases the value of I. So then I becomes 2. Let's just keep track. I becomes 2. So it's going to echo a line break, and it's going to print the value of I, which is 2. And then it's going to start over again. It's going to check this. This is a starting value. Then it's going to check this and go, is 2 less than or equal to 10? And it says that's true. And then we're going to increase the value of I. So then it goes to 3. And then it goes around. It goes to 4. Then it goes to 5. Then it goes to 6. Then it goes to 8. Then it goes to 9. Then it goes to 10. When it goes to 10, it goes through, and it writes number 10, and then it goes to 11. What happens when it gets to 11? It gets to 11, it comes up here. Now I is equal to 11. It says, is I less than or equal to 10? No, it's not. And then it stops the loop. Then it will do whatever code is down here to do. So this way it only counts to 10. Okay, so let's see what else we could do with this loop. So let's do some more controls over this loop. So let's say, for example, we only wanted to do even numbers. So we could have this loop continually still count to 10, but what we'll do, inside the loop we'll do an if statement. And the if statement will say that if I divided by 2 does not leave a remainder, right? So let's do it like this. Divided by 2, which is mod 2 that we learned earlier in one of our lessons. So we're going to do like this. Let's bracket that off. This is just the starting bracket and the ending bracket. And this is how the code looks like. So we're going to say if this bracket thing evaluates to 0, which means that I divided by 2 does not leave a remainder. The double equal is an equivalence variable we learned before. If I divided by 2 equals 0, we know that means is that I is an even number. Then we're going to echo out I. Does that make any sense? We're going to do a line break, and we're going to echo out I. But if this is not true, we don't do anything, and it's going to still do all the looping functions from 1 to 10. So basically it's going to say when I equal 1, it's going to go divided by 2. Does that leave a remainder? Yes. Then nothing will print. Then it will go to 2. Then it will go to 3. Then it go to 4 and 5. And all the even numbers will print, and all the odd numbers won't print. So instead of saying echo 2, echo 4, echo 6, echo 8, echo 10, we'll simply do the loop and control only for even numbers. So let's run this. Actually, I want another line break here just for formatting purposes. Okay, so let's run this loop and see what happens. Oh man, come on. PHP fiddle, stop playing with me. Okay, so let's run this code and see what happens. So here again is our original code. This is the extra line space that I just put in between the 9 and 10, so we get that nice looking space. Then the loop starts here, and here is our result that says 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Why? Because we're looping through all 10, but we have an if statement that controls for only the even numbers. So let's do the same thing for the odd numbers. Let's see if we could do the odd numbers. So how do we do the odd numbers? Very easy. So let me copy this so we could keep the even numbers up, right? And let me go down here. So let's just label this one. So this would be even numbers. And down here, we're going to say these are odd numbers. Okay. So how do we control for odd numbers? If this said if I divided by 2 equals 0, we put that. So let's just change that to see if I divided by 2 is not, I shouldn't say divide, this is a mod function, which is completely different, throws you off. So if mod I mod 2, which means you divide a number by 2 and you check the remainder, if the remainder is not 0, which means it's an odd number, then print it. Same exact code, all we did was change this from equal to 0 to not equal 0. So let's run that and see what that looks like. So there's again is our original code. Here's our even numbers, and look, here's our odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So we could, and the thing about loops is you could multiply this any amount of time that you want. So for example, let's change this stop number here. If I is less than equal to 10, we could make this 100. 100. Let's run that and see that. Let's run this code and see what happens when we run this code. So remember, we changed 10 to 100. So here we are now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 26. Oh, I can't scroll inside. So it keeps going down. I'll go all the way down to 100. I just can't scroll while I'm zoomed out. Is this the scroll bar for the inside? Oh, there it is. That's the inside. So you could see, it's so hard. I know why, because I'm all zoomed up. But you could see that it goes from all the way down to 100. So I didn't have to echo out each of those numbers. I simply used the loop inside the letter, inside the function, to repeat the task over and over. Loops are very, very powerful items in coding. So what people tend to do is you tend to spend a lot of time doing one tiny task, and then you just use a loop function to multiply it 1,000 times. So the analogy I usually use to think about coding and loops, because I really love loops, is building a house. So if you wanted to build a house, you would build, you'd build a frame, you put the roof on, you close the door up, you run the electric. But in coding, it doesn't really work like that. In coding, what you want to do is build one really good ground floor apartment, and then you would just use a loop to multiply it into a 100-story building or 1,000-story building, because every apartment will be exactly the same, and you just use a loop to multiply it upwards as high as you'd like it to go. As long as the first item is perfect, then you could multiply it or duplicate it an infinite amount of times. instead of building 1,000 things, you build one thing and then multiply it 1,000 times. So let's give you guys some homework regarding loops. So let's see some fun ones we could do. So let's count by 15. Okay, so let's do your homework. We should count. Count is a keyword in PHP. So let's do this. This is our homework. So first point is to count by 15. Count by 15 from 0 to 1,500. That should be fairly easy. As a loop, what else can you do with loops? You could actually count backwards. Let's do this before we start counting backwards. We could do multiply by 2. Let's see. Can we do factorials? Yeah, factorial. What's a factorial? Factorial is this. I do factorial. Let me just say what a factorial is. It's like the factorial of 7, let's say, would be 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7. So that would be 7 factorial. So the homework is to actually do 7 factorial as a looped function. Let's see what else we could do. Let's do a loop where we why am I drawing a blank on these? So I like the factorial one, and I like the count by 15 because that shows you that you could do that. But what about if we do months of the year? Let's just do a simple count to 12. A simple count to 12. That would be 12 months, right? And then we do a simple count to 31, which is so we're gonna, okay, let's do this. Let's do a count to 12, which would be a count, okay, this is a count to 12, which is regular, so that shows you that you could count months. So this says you could count in months, and then you count to 31, so this says that you could count in days. And then I want you to count using if statements, and I want you to count out all the days of the year. Of the year. Count all the days of the year. Let me see you do that. And I want it to be accurate based on the days of the month and the days that you guys have used so far. that should be nice and easy if you guys think about it. Count all the days of the year. So it should say January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, January 4th. So the months of the year have 365 days of the year. I know, baby. Can you go show it to mommy, please? Thank you. It fell down? No. Show mommy that it fell down. Go. Okay, that's my daughter. So it's time to wrap this up. So count all the days of the year. The year has 365 days. Sometimes it has a little more or a little less based on leap years. And I want the counting not just to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or even numbers or odd numbers. I want it to actually say day, month, year. You guys know how to count. You guys know how to do if statements. You guys know how to echo out to the screen using numbers, slashes, and formatting. So let's get to work. If you have any questions, just email me. Thank you guys for watching, and we're going to move on to the next lesson. Thank you.